maximum firepower.
Brace for impact!
Welcome once again to the Brace for Impact podcast. Today's podcast will be focused around the Battletech Beginner's Box by Catalyst Game Labs. For those of you who are used to our regular Armada content, don't worry, we will still be posting regular Armada content and podcasts. But if you're curious about the Battletech Miniatures game, stick around for a bit as we do a quick review of the rules, talk about our last battle report using the Beginner's Box, and discuss the short story, The Golden Rule.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. Our first topic of the day is going to be that rules. It's going to be that rule set. Chandler, take it away. How do you feel about it?
A lot of what we're going to be talking about for this podcast is, the Battletech Beginner's Box and the quick start rules that they've got in there. So anyway, the Battletech quick start rules is pretty simple.
I agree.
I expected it to be way more complicated based on what I've heard from people talking about Battletech and that kind of thing. But they took a lot of the complexity out, like the heat, melee attacks, mechs like falling over and that kind of shit, and really simplified it to you move, you attack, you shoot, you roll to hit. That's pretty much it. And once you start getting into the game, you can really feel that kind of like lack of additional complexity. Once you start, getting the movement phases down, you know how your mech moves, you know the modifiers, and it's pretty simple at that point. And then you can really start to feel like, oh, well, really the only reason to not jump is because you don't want the additional modifier to your attack, or else, and if you've got a high enough gunnery skill, you might as well just be jumping every round. There's no reason not to.
Which was the case for me.
Yeah, and once we got through like a couple rounds, we were hopping all over the place. But if you haven't watched the battle report yet, go ahead and check it out. We go through all the rules. We go through a lot of the sequence of play for this quick start game, but it's initiative phase, movement phase, weapon attack phase, and it alternates between each player. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple once you get the movement down and the gator sequence, which you just go through the attack modifiers for your gunnery skill, the attacker movement, target movement, terrain modifiers, and range modifiers. It's pretty quick. What did you think about the rule set for Battletech?
Yeah, so to give you like my full perspective, like the first things first, like when I was reading through it, the wording I thought was the most complicated part of understanding these rules. Like the way that they phrased some certain things was very strange. I even think that there might have been like a typo for one of them, or just it was just difficult to like understand and parse through.
Yeah, the movement phase one where it's like, each time a player must move a mech, the move can be not to stand still.
Like who does that? That's super weird. So again, like that was the biggest like obstacle for me, was just kind of overcoming that wording. But once we started actually playing the game, it was crazy simple. And again, like you can kind of see where like some things were missing, like especially with melee, right? Just kind of like jump towards the end a little bit. Like, you ended up losing one of your arms there. And then that was kind of it, right? Like, you didn't really have anything that you could do after that.
Yeah, I had the LRMs, but for a lot of the game, we just couldn't hit each other. There was so much evasiveness because we were able to just run around the whole fucking board, without any kind of like heat limiting factors there. And so we were being super evasive. We were staying in the trees. So like, I think after I put my movement modifier and my gunnery skill modifier, I was like hitting you on 9s, like to start with. That's before terrain or anything.
Yeah, that was really crazy.
And the whole simplicity, or at least the most simple part of the rule set, is that everything is 2d6. So you want to roll to hit, 2d6. Where do you hit? 2d6. You fire a missile volley, 2d6. That's 2d6. How many hit.
I like that.
It's really simple, and I like it too. is very consistent because like I've played Warhammer before, and man, it's so fucking confusing. Like, all
How many
right,
dice do you have to pick up here? Like,
how many dice
yeah.
do I have? Oh, this guy has 2 weapons, so it's 4 more dice. So everyone for this shot, I'm rolling 27 dice, and it's like it's so fucking much. So I like that it's simple. It's just the 2d6 each weapon, simple modifiers, and everything is pretty fucking easy to understand.
I was also like a big fan of like the line of sight rules. I thought that they were very straightforward. Granted, we didn't have that many terrain options, but it's just like, hey, if the value is greater than I think 3 in this instance, you don't have a shot. Like that's it. So
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
that was
nice.
really cool. Interesting kind of mechanic where like when you trace that line of sight, if it's like saddling the line between 2 cubes, the defender, or sorry, 2 hexes, the defender gets to choose like which bonus they get, right? So that's also really interesting there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting as well. Also for line of sight, it's like measured center to center. There's no
There's no
debate. It's
weird
just
angle to it.
no weird angle because I was a bit confused when I was going through line of sight, and I was like, well, how do you measure the fucking hexes? You can't really, unless it's perfectly straight. You've got to do like this fucking zigzag for the hexes, and it's like no, the laser especially helped
Oh yeah, it would have been a little bit weird without a laser.
center to center, and if it overlaps any hex that's in the way, that's the intervening terrain, which is really nice.
So I thought that was really cool. I think that the differences in the mechs was really fun. I can see how the pilots are a really big deal and play a lot to it. But because I believe your pilot skill was one worse than mine. And that changed a lot of stuff, right? Just like you were saying, for you, like the hesitancy to make that jump and bring that value you have to overcome to like a 9 or greater, it really affected what you were doing on the terrain. Where for me, since I was one greater, what reason do I have not to jump? It's just going to make us even, essentially, when it comes to that, and I all of a sudden become harder to hit.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I think yeah, because I'm looking at the one of the pilot cards, and
Mhm.
man, some of their abilities are pretty fucking cool. Like this one guy, his ability is Sand Blaster. When rolling on cluster hits table for a successful LRM attack, add the following modifiers to the roll: +4 for short range, 3 for medium range, 2 for long or extreme range.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
So he gets a better cluster hit roll the closer he is.
I love that. I wish I had that.
Yeah, and there's another one, Weapon Specialist for PPC, apply -2 to hit when attacking with a PPC. And so,
Oh,
like,
that would have been great for you.
that would have been great for me. So, a lot of these pilot abilities can really affect the game and kind of give you an additional uniqueness for each mech. So, I'm really interested to try those out. I think the next scenario that we're going to play will each have one, mech warrior pilot card and an additional mech.
I agree.
And so
Like
that'll be great.
one ace and then one just kind of generic rookie guy. That'll be
Yeah.
fun.
So that'll be great.
How did you feel about the firing arcs?
Firing arc seemed pretty normal. It was just the front 3 hexes. It seemed pretty fine.
So to me, I thought like limiting isn't the right word. I can't think of the one, but it definitely like narrowed in a lot of what you're doing. Like for instance, like so soon I was able to just jump out of your line of sight. It really emphasizes you wanting to keep your enemy at a distance.
Yeah. I definitely felt that as well. Like because once you got close, it made it way easy just to like scoot around and outside of the firing arc.
Hmm.
But I think that's a big part of the game, and
And probably very different when you have more mechs.
yeah, probably very different when you have more mechs. And that was another thing was how important initiative was just with a one-on-one duel.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
if you lose it, it's like, oh well, now I have to back the fuck up, or he's gonna jump behind me,
And wreck my shit.
get a shot, and just wreck my shit, and I can't do anything. But I think that that's something that won't be as effective once more and more mechs start coming in.
Definitely.
I mean, probably as like the game goes on and like mechs start dying and shit, like that'll
But at
be
least
more
like that
significant.
early in the game.
Yeah, that early in the game, probably not quite as important.
Um, and then so something I just kind of want your opinion on. When it came to rolling for the hit location, how did you feel about that?
It seemed okay. It made
Same.
it made the mechs feel like tough.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't like, oh well, because like if you got to choose, I would just choose the head every time. You know, and
That makes
then
sense.
you
Yeah.
you take 8 damage and then your fucking pilot's dead. So the randomness really helped, and also I feel like the game kind of exudes this sense that everything is happening like in situ, like
Hmm.
the mechs are moving and firing at the same time. That's why when they move fast or they jump, like they get negative bonus to their shoot score. But while they're moving, they're more evasive because this is all happening all at the same time. It's not like everyone's moving and then stopping and then turning and then shooting. It's all happening and occurring at the same time.
So just to kind of give my 2 cents, the rolling for location was my least favorite part of the rules. Not that I hated it, right? It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish there was a way that I could try to focus on something. So say like I am going to shoot at your head, right? Why not just increase the modifier amount and make it difficult to do that? Like if I were to like rewrite it, that's maybe the direction I would go. I would
Yeah.
like the ability to kind of focus on like that fucking arm for that super awesome cannon that you have, right? Like I got lucky in the sense that I destroyed it. Um, I don't know. It was just my thought on that.
Yeah, that's true. But also, those kinds of locations are easier to hit anyway. Like, like there.
But there's two of them, so you're kind of if I wanted to focus on the one that has an no ammo count,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They're difficult. It's difficult to do that. But my point is that the hit location table it's from 2 to 12, and on the table the right arm is on there twice, the left arm is on there twice. So I mean, they're kind of easier to hit than the other things, but I get your point of I want to focus on something.
Yeah, and that's really all that I'm saying. I'm not saying that like I hated that it broke the game for me, but as I was playing the game, that was something I was thinking about.
Yeah, you really kind of want to aim the shot at the kind of thing that you want to get shot.
Hmm. Even if I have to like fucking only roll for 12s or like 11s, like I would do it. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I didn't really like was, man, it really felt difficult to hit you, even with this basic rule sheet. I felt like I think I hit you like 2 or 3 times,
Not a lot at all.
and I completely used like all of my weapons as much as I could. Ran out of ammo with my LRMs, and so I'm like, man, what the fuck do you have to do to be able to hit someone, or is it just that difficult and you just need more mechs?
I think that like you were at a disadvantage only having the two guns.
Yeah,
I think that was it.
I think maybe once the heat chart gets involved, it kind of will assist. Maybe it gives like a bonus to being hit when your mech heats up, that kind of thing. Makes it easier to target. I don't know, but it was really difficult to get a hit off, especially the way we were playing. We were like, oh, I'm in a bad situation. I've lost initiative. Let me
Let me back
jump into
away.
the heavy
Yeah.
woods and try and get away and get out of short range. That kind of thing.
And, a lot of that, like in conjunction with you only having the two guns, is I was really going out of my way to be hard to hit. I feel like it was in my benefit to do so with my increased pilot skill. So like that, like I think played a role. But again, I think the number one thing is like you only had those two guns. I had like four, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
you had
such
a
a huge
lot.
disparity there. So I just had so many more opportunities to hit you. Because I mean, like once we add in heat, like what's going to happen? I'm going to have essentially less guns because I wouldn't be shooting all of my guns. All that's going to do is now just make it harder for me to hit you. That's not going to make it easier for you to hit me.
Yeah, but I haven't looked at the heat charts yet, so I don't even know what the
Yeah, I have
modifiers
no
would
idea how the
be.
fuck any of that works. So,
And also like we're using their quick play cards, but all we're seeing, like for our mech structure, is the outer layer of the armor. So we're not even playing with internal layer or crits or anything like that. So like once you shave off all of the outer armor, there's a whole internal structure that you have to kill as well.
So let's talk about that for a moment, just to make sure I understand correctly. So in this game, I blew your arm off, right? But have you, if you still had that under layer, your arm would have still existed. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it just like there's only a couple of hit points on the arm? Because I feel like that
Th-
really
there
just
are there are less, yeah.
okay. Because I feel like they again, I would have to play it to give a true opinion, but I feel like having that extra layer just turns them into damage sponges. Like, does it eventually just devolve into like us smacking each other because we're out of ammo?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of the thing that we need to get to.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that works out.
But yeah, and there's a whole like crit hit table for all this stuff.
Yeah, because I felt like you had a lot of ammo as it was, or not ammo, a lot of hit points per armor section as it was.
Yeah, it did feel like I had a lot.
Fair, fair.
So there'll be even more. Even the head as well. The head has its own internal structure. But it's definitely like, I would say maybe half the amount of the total health of
Hmm.
each segment is what's appearing on the internal structure. So it makes
Makes
them
sense.
a little bulkier, but
Interesting rule. I'm sure you must have seen it though. That if you lose a leg, you can't move anymore.
now if you lose a leg or if you lose both legs?
I'll read it. If one or both of the mech's legs is destroyed, it cannot move nor make any facing changes for the rest of the game.
Ooh,
Like,
damn.
could you fucking imagine? You're just, especially like one on one. Okay, I'm just gonna stand behind you and unload into your skull. Like,
Yeah, I guess that would be like how this last game turned out, where it's just a surrender at that point. If it's just a
mm,
one-on-one, and just move on. Because I mean, the game's over at that point.
yeah. Well, I guess it kind of fits in with the lore a little bit, right? Because like the idea of these being like knights or like mercenaries, it's like, oh, if I'm going to die, let me surrender and live.
Hmm.
To fight another day, as opposed to anything else. So I think it
And just
fits lore
stand there and
wise.
let them pummel on you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that makes sense. And there's probably like like a ransom system, right? Like that's how like knight ships would work. You would capture them and you would ransom them back to their owners.
Yeah,
Um,
something like, or like, I mean, we were playing pretty close to each other, but like, if your leg gets blown off and you're like 20 hexes away, maybe keep trying to shoot and kill the guy that's coming after you, but after a while, they get behind you.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Especially like not having the ability to do a facing change, I think is
That
a
that
pretty big
really
deal.
screws it over, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I touched on all of the rules that I kind of that were highlight points for me there. With the exception of I really like the damage recording sheet, so you kind of tick off those boxes. Like that is probably one of my favorite damage tracking mechanisms.
That was
Um,
really satisfying for some reason. Like,
Especially seeing you check yours off, that was great.
yeah. And I was like, when I finally got a hit on it, it was like,
Yeah,
it definitely felt different than just putting like a
a die
dice
next to it.
number next to my thing. I want to call them ships, but they're not ships. They're fucking. I've played so
Uh,
much Armada. I'm
Overcome
just
that.
like,
Yeah,
it felt really cool.
I
And
agree.
also, it was super enjoyable to put it up on the battle report, the little armor diagrams with the armor and the color and everything. Like, that was super fun.
I think you did such a really good job with the just everything on that video. I told you I really like the arcs, how some of them were an arc, and then some of the line of sight things were like a straight line for when we were shooting each other. Like that was fucking cool for me. That was like ESPN level, but actually
Yeah,
something that I'm interested in watching. So
yeah.
just awesome job, man.
Those lines and the arcs were actually like really fucking easy to do.
Don't tell anyone
For
that. Just
no,
take the credit.
they were easy. But yeah, I think it's gonna help like while people are watching, especially like the tags for each mech. Just to keep track of everything that's going around, and especially like when pilots start coming up and they've got their extra shit. It just helps spread out all the information instead of just putting it all on those little screens that I was popping up every time.
It's gonna be really handy when we have multiple mechs as well. I'm excited to kind of see that.
Exactly.
So let's go ahead. Let's talk about that battle report a little bit. I know that we were kind of merging the two here, right? Talking about the rules as it
Yeah.
pertains to our match.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to like separate them when we've played one game.
Yeah, that is our one experience with it.
Yeah, it's like our only experience of going through the rules. I mean, I sat my girlfriend down and made her suffer as we played like a mock match before you came over, but I just wanted to get like that familiarization with moving the mechs and rolling the dice, just so I have like an idea, because you can only get so much from reading the rules, and you don't really know how it all plays out until you start putting mechs on the battlefield, you know?
Definitely. To kind of lead off that conversation, though, something I did want to touch on in relation to that battle report, we were all over the map, and I thought that was so cool. Especially, playing like Armada and stuff like that, where you kind of tend to stay in a 3x6, like using, even though it was a smaller field, using the full field felt really cool and really satisfying.
Yeah, I would say I expected us to just point our guns at each other and just blast until one of us was dead. I was editing, and like while I was going through, we went around the map like 3 times.
Yes.
Like fully, I was in my deployment zone, then your deployment zone, then on the edge, and then we kept looping around, and it it really feels like the game emphasizes moving your mechs, not being stationary, because obviously you're just easier to hit if you're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
If you're easier to hit, you're easier to take damage. So unless your mech is in a really good spot, you got to be fucking moving around.
And we did. Holy shit.
And what did you think about deployment and like the obstacles on the board?
Specifically placing the obstacles or the obstacles themselves while we were playing?
Both.
Okay.
Because I didn't actually see a rule for like placing obstacles in the rule set. We just had additional obstacles, and we just did it kind of the way we do Armada, where we alternate each obstacle, and then that's kind of it.
Fair. To answer your questions there, as far as deployment, I don't have a lot of feelings towards it. It just seemed like we deployed in the fairest way possible, right? Granted, I feel like when we have more terrain, there'll probably be a bit more that goes into that deployment. Because I think
Yeah,
that no matter where we deployed, I feel like the game would have ended up the same way.
yeah, pretty much. More deploying, more mechs, more
Mm-hmm.
space. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like just doing a 1v1. It's like, well, I'll put my mech here, and you're like, oh, I'll put my mech here, and then it's like we're done.
And then that's it.
That
Yeah.
was it.
We're facing each other. That's what matters, right? So, as far as the obstacles and, the setup of the game, yeah, again, like there's just not much to say there. It did like we did do it like Armada, so it felt fair, which I think is important. There's not a whole lot of variety in the obstacles. There wasn't a lot of strategy in what I was doing other than being like, okay, well, this is a safe zone that I created, I guess. Not that it matters at all.
Hmm.
So there's not much to say there. Really, a lot of my comments are going to come into the terrain during the game. And like I know it's just like simple light and heavy terrain, but holy crap, that it affected what I was doing so much. And I feel like, playing games like Armada or playing games like X-Wing, I'm always like, okay, I want to avoid it. Right? I don't want to be anywhere near it. Best thing for me is maybe put it between me and an enemy, and then but then we're both, shooting with an obstruction, like whatever, that's all there is to it. But in this game, like you're actually using it for cover, which is fucking cool. It doesn't give you a negative effect if you're standing in it. It just makes you harder to hit. And I thought that was super great. I'm excited to have different types of terrain and kind of see what some of the official rules are for them. Like especially like some of these buildings that we're going to be using the next one. Like how do those work? Are those just instant blocking? That'll be so fucking cool. Can you break them down? So the terrain, while simple, I think adds a lot to the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It's weird to have terrain and obstacles on the board that aren't expressly negative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it's like, oh, you want to stand here? Take a critical damage, They're like
That is so
crazy shit like
shitty.
that. It's like, after a while, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be out in the open at all. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be in the woods. I want to be, oh, now my initiative has gone down. Let me back up into the woods so now I can't be hit. And if they want to hit me, they got to come around the woods and then I'll get a shot off. And so that was definitely strange. And felt really awesome, actually.
I am so on board with that. I thought it was way cool. Trying to think of anything else really to talk about for that report specifically, other than my headshot
Well,
turn one.
I had one thing when you were talking about how we were moving around the board and how it's different from Armada. That's actually one of the things I don't like about Armada very much, is especially when you get to a certain level, and depending on what ship you're talking about. Like, I'm not talking about a CR90 when I'm saying this, but like, if there's an ISD going speed 2, I know exactly where it can be on turn 3 or 4, unless it obviously changes its speed. But some of the lower speed ships, man, you can really predict where your opponent's going to be, like, down to a couple inches. And there's not much that they can do, barring navving every single round. And it's hard to get a game where you move around the board so much.
And with Armada, it's not only where they are to within a couple of inches, but what direction they're facing to within a couple of degrees. Like, because in this game, like, even if it had nothing else, you could completely 180, and that's not a big fucking deal.
Yeah. That's something that I feel is really cool and interesting about this, is not being able to predict to such an extent and having to kind of make a tactical decision based on what you've done and respond to that. Instead of us setting up deployment, I spend 10 minutes to measure all your ships with my range ruler, and then I'll just point on the board and be like, he'll be there at turn 4. So I'll line up everything there, and then that'll be it.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to talk about it. That headshot, super great, felt super good.
that was really my point where I'm like, oh, we're starting the game like this? Like, I'm in fucking danger? That really felt nasty.
When I was watching, I'm like, hey, Jace, watch this part, because it was your reaction to that roll.
Yeah. That felt fucking crazy. But I like that about the rolling aspect of it, and the surprise of it, and not being able to say, I'll just target your head every single round. It's oh, I rolled a double 6. Now I get to really put the danger on you. And man, I was sweating like once I got that, until we did a couple more shots and I was being more evasive and realizing how rare a shot like that is. But I was lucky it didn't kill me outright, and then we would just have like a fucking, when did you do that? Like 10
It was my
minutes
first shot.
in? The first shot? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was my first shot, and then I think I got one more, but it was very low damage.
Yeah, it was like 1 damage. But that was fucking crazy.
Yeah, that was a high for me for sure. I think for me, like, pretty much sums up that game. It was a pretty simple game, right? So there's not too much to it other than like those initial kind of perspectives and feelings. So
Yeah, I would just say, to like sum it up, like, it's a pretty enjoyable quick start rules, but like, it feels very quick start. That you can tell, like, even before we were finished, like, if we weren't recording it and we were just playing like you and me, 20 minutes in, I would have been like, all right, cool, let's move on to the next step in the quick start rules. Let's add more mechs.
Oh, I would have told you to pull out the melee rules for sure.
Well, there are no melee rules in the quick start stuff. There's nothing.
Well, I know, but to go find them.
No. I would kept going through the quick start rules, adding mechs and that, and then do the scenario before I was satisfied with adding stuff outside of. But that's just me. But definitely, like 10, 20 minutes in, you get the hang of it and you start doing things like really quick.
Fair. I think that's a good summary there.
Those are all my thoughts on it. I like the 2d6 system for it. It feels,
it's clean.
There's no room for guessing. You ask what you want to do, the answer is roll 2d6 and look at the chart, and that's what happens.
I agree. Next thing we want to talk about is going to be the golden rule. It was a little narrative sheet that came with the beginner box.
Yeah, it was just like a short little like story for it, and this is one of the things that we were talking about. Fuck, I don't know if it was it was during the intro part of the battle report where I just started rambling about why we were choosing to play and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not familiar with the lore or setting of BattleTech very much at all. Unlike Star Wars, where you and me have both been in Star Wars like our whole lives, so it feels
Mm-hmm.
weird to go back and rewatch A New Hope and be like, what did you think of that movie? And kind of break it down. I mean, I guess we could do that if it would be interesting. I don't think it would be interesting, but so yeah, this beginner's box, getting back on topic, came with this little short story, The Golden Rule, which is pretty much my first experience with reading some kind of narrative Battletech media at all.
It was my first experience as well.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so to kind of sum it up a little bit, we had, I think, like 2 or 3 parts. I would say, like, the first one was just kind of setting the stage a little bit. Had, like, a mercenary meetup with some kind of mafia boss. After that, it kind of jumps to a little bit of starship travel, right? So that was kind of cool. Kind of, like, again, setting the stage a little bit for where we're going to have this fight. Introducing, I think, like, a couple of the characters in the Lance, I think is the right terminology for this.
Yeah.
During the fight, we find out that there might have been some double crossing going on. Where actually, instead of fighting just a group of like pirates or mercenaries or whatever was going on there, it's actually like one of the main factions. They may have actually been waiting for them and been tipped off, right? So some double crossing. And then I think we finished a little bit weak, right? Like the I guess main characters, make it through the fights. One of the dudes is heavily injured, and then we kind of stop. So definitely, like, it leaves you wanting more. I'm used to like Warhammer books where like, oh, that character that you like so much and you respect, guess what? He's going to die. I don't think anyone that we knew or were introduced to, I should say, ended up dying in this story. Just kind
Yeah.
of like a major injury there. And then again, I don't know. Have you read any of the Warhammer books specifically around like the Titans and the way that they fight?
Well, not only the Titans, but I haven't read any Warhammer book at all. So
I'm gonna fix that.
yeah.
I'm gonna,
So I've
yeah.
probably the only piece of like Warhammer media I've directly consumed has been like some of those long form YouTube videos where they just kind of
Mm,
summarize. Because a lot of what I've heard, and you'll probably be correcting me once I'm done talking, is that a lot of what happens in Warhammer is like really setting driven and almost weirdly stagnant, except for a few very significant points in time. And there's not a like ongoing story arc to track unless you're in one of those major points in time.
yeah, I'd say that's mostly accurate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, looking back at like the things that I've read and like reflecting, one of them is like, okay, well, there's a fucking city, and then Necrons are coming out of the city, right? So the book starts with the city and the Necrons, coming to life, and it ends with
Everyone dying.
them nuking the planet, and then
Yeah.
that's that, right? So
Yeah.
you're right. It is stagnant in that sense.
Yeah, I know that there are like particular points like the Horus Heresy where there's like a lot of stuff happening and a lot of books.
But that's like
with a
20
lot of
fucking
characters.
books.
It's like a significant period. But anyway, um,
Mm.
so yeah, so this book, The Golden Rule, I can't even call it a book. It's like a small Reader's Digest
Yes.
story, but it starts on. And so, just a disclaimer: I can be really critical with shit like this, even if it's like Star Wars stuff, as some of you will remember from my Kenobi review that we did a while ago. I didn't like a lot of this book. I thought it was really. It felt like a 5-minute story, but not in the way like it takes 5 minutes to read it. It felt like someone took 5 minutes to write it.
It was very shallow.
It was really shallow and also like weird. Like some of what the author like typed out, I was like, "What? Why did you write it like that?" Like, so for people who won't bother reading it, it starts on this planet called Asgard, city of Wotan, in the Lyran Commonwealth, which is one of the major factions of Battletech in 2990. So the main character is Durant Carlyle, the commander of the 2nd Lance for Colby's Commandos, which is the main good guys. I guess they're just like some kind of mercenary group.
Yeah, I was gonna say it felt like they were just like a mercenary group.
Yeah, they're like, we're in it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
We'll help people out, whatever. But like, they go into this one bar called the World Tree Bar, and I'm just like, the cringing at just the naming prospects of a lot of these things. Like, we're on Asgard. Well, what bar are we gonna go into? Fuck it, name it the World Tree Bar. No one gives a shit. You know, like Yggdrasil was too on the nose for them. And they open the doors, and he's like, and you can hear the thumpa 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 of the music.
I remember.
Like literally, like when an author writes out an onomatopoeia, instead of describing it well, it just makes my eyes roll so hard. So yeah, apparently they meet with this guy who gives them this fucking spiel about how this capital city, Rho, is going to get destroyed by one of the rulers of another city, Dubois. And they get paid like fucking 800,000 something. I think they said
sea creds,
sea bills or something.
Yeah, that's what it was. Sea bills.
Sea bills. Which is like, all right, you want to call your money sea bills, but then I was like reading stuff to get like refreshed for the podcast before we get started, and that's not even Lyran Commonwealth money.
I thought it was based on a.
It's not. Their currency is kroners. So now I'm like, well, what are sea bills? Is that like credit?
I remember reading sea bills somewhere else though, in reference to like a money value. I don't think they pulled that one out of a hat.
Well,
again,
yeah,
I don't know enough.
Comstar has because each inner sphere area has their own fucking currency. Because I read this little, what's it called? The Instant Guide to the Inner Sphere, and they all have their different currencies. And so I was like, well, why are y'all getting paid in Comstar money and not Lyran Commonwealth money? So I was like fucking confused about that.
And I think they asked for it specifically too. It's not like they were offering that particular currency.
Yeah, so I wonder what's going on with that. Or if like, I don't know. It wasn't explained to me why they're getting paid in sea bills and not kroners.
Weird.
But they got 800,000 of it, which is nice. But then, yeah, as you were saying, it goes to the Union-class dropship Ragamuffin, which is another ridiculous name.
It's all right, man.
I was just like, you're naming a whole ship Ragamuffin? Who gives a shit? I don't give a shit.
They didn't give a shit.
But then they go through the lances. So they've got 2 whole lances for this hit and run on a supply depot that they've got. And it goes through like, you know, all the names of the people. They all get undressed. Awkward exchanges.
I'm trying to like add anything, but you're summarizing it very well just because there's not much else to it.
I will say, once the mechs hit the ground and they started writing about the mechs, I felt like that was the strongest point.
It was the strongest point. Yeah, I agree.
Any of the like interactions with a human person or an interaction between 2 human persons was like awkward as fuck. It was like really weird. Like at the end, they were like, "Oh yeah, and we've got all this gold, and we'll be able to, I don't know, make the rules now," or whatever they said, the golden rule. And then it was like either the ship captain or the guy who'd just been injured was like, "Yuppers." I literally like threw my fucking phone, and I was like, "It's so stupid." That's what I'll say. It not that it was stupid. It felt really fucking cheesy though, and I don't know if they're trying to do that. Like if that's just the kind of theme is to just like, you know, be badass with the mechs, but everything else just keep it kind of light and cheesy.
It's giving me Starship Trooper vibes.
Yeah, kind of like you know, keep things a little bit lighthearted some places, and the mechs you can, you know, ride it like a badass or whatever the fuck.
Well, let's talk about that mech battle a little bit. Oh, do you have something else?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say that it seems like they spent like so much time talking about what the name of the mech company meant, like the enemy mech company Death Guild.
Hmm.
It really stuck out to me. I was like, is that like such an important thing for their mech company? Like, if we call ourselves the Blood Badass Rangers, like, is that, do we have to name ourselves that if we're actually blood badasses? You know, is like, and at the end he was like talking about, oh well, they're protecting all this gold. That's why they call themselves the Death Guild, because Guild for gold. Blah blah blah.
Mm. Yeah, they went out of their way to like parse out it, like, I'm not gonna say word by word, but like they split it up and like defined each thing. I remember that.
So I thought that was interesting, but I don't know. Maybe that's like a consistent theme. I don't know. Maybe there's part two.
What would be cool is as we get these next boxes, there's like other little narrative sheets that follow along the same story.
I think there is.
Because that would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt short and kind of like a throwaway. Here's this kind of intro story, which, I mean, it worked. We're talking about it. And I did get a lot of information just about like the setting and the things that can go on. Because, I mean, they had like, I mean, at least the enemy, they had fucking 12 mechs on that planet. That seems like a fucking lot.
And they wrecked them with like 4, it seemed.
Well, so let's talk about the battle. So they
Yeah,
they
please.
arrive at the depot. It was what, Carlisle and fucking,
Dude, you're pulling receipts. Yeah, the names for me, that's kind of a bit more detailed than I remember. I usually kind of have to read a couple of chapters until I start remembering names.
because well, anyway. So it was Hauptmann. So Carlisle and Hauptmann, they're the two Shadowhawk pilots for each of the
Mhm.
lances, the first and second lance. And so they're the recons. So they forward deploy, start shooting up the depot, and it turns out that there's only
It's like empty.
2 mechs in there. Yeah, there's 2. There's a Whitworth and a Panther, which are like Drek mechs, they called them.
Hmm. And then they roast them.
They fucking roast them, obviously. There's nobody in them, they just fucking light them up. But
And
there's
then,
supposed to be total of 12.
yep. And that's when they pick up like a heat signature, right? Like some of the
They pick up a
scouts.
heat signature where there's this huge fucking mobile mining refinery from Vickers Mining.
Which I thought was really cool.
Really cool. I
I was
love
getting like
like
Dune
huge
vibes.
scale shit like that. So Carlisle goes to investigate this mining refinery thing. It's like a big fucking robot miner.
Hmm.
He runs into a dragon, which would be the third mech. And then after a short engagement, the mechs that show up is a second dragon, which they also made another point that like the Draconis Combine has like a near monopoly on dragons.
Yes.
So he like saw a dragon, he was like, oh, yep, it's the Draconis Combine. You know.
And then I think at this point they notice like an emblem on the mining machine as well.
Yeah, for Vickers Mining.
Um, I'm misremembering, but I thought that they also saw like a Draconis symbol on the mining thing.
Maybe. But anyway, so there's 2 dragons, Thunderbolt, and a Wolverine.
Mhm.
So there's 5 mechs that they're fucking fighting. The 2 that they killed, so that's 7. And so I'm just extrapolating from incomplete information. That means that 3 mechs went to go destroy the city because they were able to pick up one of the pilots of the dragon after the battle and bring
Mhm.
him back, and he told them that, oh, the rest of the mechs are stomping on the city. So from that we can easily say that if you have 3 mechs, you can fucking destroy an entire city.
Which is interesting because I think that like the lore specifically says these aren't giant mechs. Like they're like maybe 30 meters at most.
Yeah, how big did they say they were? 7 to 16 meters, 20 to 100 tons. So like, yeah, they're
They're
not
not
fucking,
huge things.
they're not Gundams. Is the point?
Yes, very
Because
much.
Gundams are fucking massive, almost outrageously so.
It's like pretty equivalent to like a knight, in Warhammer, I would say.
Really? I thought the knights were fucking obscenely massive.
Mm, I mean,
Or maybe
again, I could be
it's just
wrong.
the difference in scale.
Perhaps. And Warhammer, I think, tends to contradict itself sometimes. But,
Yeah,
definitely not a Titan. Definitely not a Gundam.
yeah. They're not like skyscraper sized or even very large building size. They're just large like military vehicles.
Yes.
But it seems like they're extremely powerful if three can destroy a whole fucking city. But I
Uh,
don't. They didn't really talk about how big the city was. It could have been a bunch of fucking tents for all I know.
Good point. But, I mean, they made it seem super important. So I would imagine it was a little bit more than that. But, yeah, so, engaging this battle, not a lot happens, right? They just kind of trade fire with these guys, maybe take one or two out, because, like, the support starts, like, kind of backing them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think they destroyed the thunderbolt
Hmm.
and they crippled both of the dragons. And I think Colby's Wolverine was destroyed as well, and that's why he got all fucked up.
Yeah, got,
Because
like,
it's
burned.
Colby's commander or commandos, so he's like the leader. So their leader got fucked up, but didn't die. Apparently, seems fine. They made it seem like he died. So they're like, the thunderbolt was destroyed, it wasn't moving, and so was our Wolverine. Blah blah blah. And then they're like, "Now he's good. He's
He's
fine."
got some burns. So, and for me, that's kind of where, like, and again, I think I'm just spoiled by Warhammer, but they could have done so much more emotionally with that, right? Like, kill the commander. We didn't really know him that well anyway. Promote someone else. That'll be super cool.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I agree. I definitely was like, oh, the fucking leader guy's dead. But maybe they'll do that in like another book. This was only like fucking 13 pages or something. It wasn't that long. So
Yeah, it's like hard to judge it.
even if they did kill him, I would be like, okay, I don't care. You killed the guy I was introduced to 4 pages ago. I don't give a shit.
I think it would have
You
added
know?
a little bit of weight, right? Because they didn't lose anyone. If anything, they ended up with now parts to repair their other robot.
Yeah, and they like stole like $250 million in gold or
Oh
something.
yeah, they
Oh,
found a bunch
sorry,
of gold
sea
bars.
bills. Yeah, they found all that gold.
Huh.
Which also I was confused on. Like he was like, I like a mech with hands. I just grabbed some. I just opened their fucking piggy bank and just grabbed some $250 million worth of gold. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe explain that next time. I don't know. They probably were just like, fuck it, write a 10-page short story.
Yeah, in the context of like a 10-page short story, not even a short story, like a very very short story, like it, it's fine.
I mean, this could have been on the back of a cereal box for sure.
It
Like,
could have been
I'm
on the back of a
struggling
cereal
to
box.
come up with shit to talk about for this one because it was very thin.
There's not that much, I think we summed it up really well. We kind of give our thoughts on it a little bit.
What some of the points in the short story, and really, I'm just kind of parsing this for like information on the setting and what kinds of things can happen in these stories and the kinds of things that they will put as kind of throwaway lines but really lead to these kinds of things are normal in this setting. And one of the things that I liked was that Carlisle's Shadowhawk is like 2 centuries old.
Mhm.
And there's this kind of precedent that there are these warrior families that will have one mech that their whole family will support
They pass it
and
down.
repair, and then they'll pass it down through the family. So I can just assume that Carlisle has probably a huge amount of support from his family to keep this Shadowhawk in good repair and condition, and that if he dies, it's likely that his Shadowhawk will be taken. Obviously, he'll be dead and repaired and refurbished, and then passed on to another person in the Carlisle family.
So that's actually it. That you explaining that helps me out a little bit because I was like, how is this dude just taking on? Because for a moment he was taking on like maybe two or three of these different mechs. So it kind of stands to reason perhaps that his mech is just really fucking good, right? It's like one of the older, again, well-maintained mechs. If I'm not mistaken, the lore is, the older the mech is, the higher technology level they were likely at when they built it, as opposed to if these mechs were newer, they're probably like some trash things with like slow
Yeah,
response time. So that kind of helps me a little bit because I was a little bit perturbed just by how easily he was kind of fending for himself when he was alone.
yeah, and the technology thing is another point that they talked about because when he was getting in, he like put this neural helmet on, and it was talking about how, oh, back in the day, you could just put the helmet on and pilot the whole thing, just with the helmet, just with your thoughts. But now it's like everything's kind of degraded. Really, it just tells you, you know, information regarding the balance and the attitude of your mech. So it's just kind of like feeding you, I guess, supplemental information into your
N-
mind and not
Not only
really.
that, what it did is it used your balance to balance the mech,
Really?
is what it said.
I didn't know it was the pilot's balance. So I guess
Yeah,
because in my mind they're like sitting in like a pilot, like a jet fighter seat, and it's just feeding them data based on the mech so that they can change like their controls. Because it said he used like a pedal
yeah.
to move the mech, so I'm just assuming they're sitting.
Yeah, so he that's all correct. Like he basically his mech was a mixture of, having that slight neural connection to where the mech, used his inner ear to balance the mech, as it was walking and stuff like
Oh,
that.
his.
As
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as opposed to, strictly having to make all of those inputs manually with like a stick or with pedals.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of it was like a 50-50, not 100% through like the mind thing.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes sense. And
Mhm.
also there was this exchange, like as he was getting in, he kind of had this like, or he talked about this rapport that mech warriors will have with their mech crew chief. You know, the people that like will maintain and keep the mech like up to date and repaired.
Oh yeah, that whole bit about owing him money so that he comes back to pay it.
Yeah, you owe the crew chief like a small amount of money, so you owe them so that you have kind of have this thing not lording over you, but you kind of need to come back to pay your crew chief. So it's just this kind of like ancient routine of owing them money. So you don't say, oh, I'm just going out there to fucking sacrifice myself and die. You kind of have something to come back to, which I thought was cool.
I think that was my favorite bit of lore building from that little book.
Yeah, I felt like this part was, well, this short story was the best when they were talking about those kinds of like, how the battle mechs are passed down in the warrior families, all the little setting things I liked the most. And anytime any of the characters were talking, I was like, I don't want any of this.
Just give me
It's
the narrative.
terrible. Just give me the fucking, take all that out and just talk about the setting.
Yeah, I agree. And then it just ends with them flying away with a bunch of gold, right?
Yeah, they won all the gold. Yuppers.
Yepers. Fuck. Let's not make that a habit.
Yuppers? You don't like yuppers? I
Mm,
fucking like. I was because I was reading it on my phone. I fucking threw that thing. I get so annoyed when just little. Uh, what's the right word for it? Just like lazy shit. Like you couldn't come up with anything other than yuppers.
to me, it's on the same boat as "What's Your Malfunction, Rico?" It's in the same fucking boat.
And it's just fucking satire.
No, not even just satire. It's just poor choice of words. My God.
Yeah. But maybe that's kind of the point. Maybe like we get into reading the more of these, and it's just supposed to be a little reprieve, just like a little bit of silliness. Be like, the fucking
So we're gonna read this and find out that what they're 12. Like,
no, no, not that they're 12. It's just a little bit of satirical lightheartedness, maybe a little goofiness. I don't know. That's the way I'm going to interpret it. That they're just being intentionally goofy. I definitely liked the stuff at the end when they were like they had some pictures of like the drop ship, and that kind of helps frame how large things are because I
I did
definitely like
like
having
that.
it looked like and I was talking about this on the battle report intro is like that Union class dropship looks like something made in the 80s.
Mm.
Not like, oh, in 1980, this Union class dropship was made like in the story. I mean, like when the story was made in the 80s, like those kinds of ship designs were almost
Considered
standard.
futuristic, yeah.
Yeah, considered futuristic and everything.
So like for me, like a really important part of like tank battle books or like mech battle books is like being able to visualize those mechs. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I had like some little pictures of like what some of those mechs looked like. I think I had to look up like the Wolverine or one of the ones that didn't include, but it was
Yeah.
nice to kind of have that reference, just for my like head canon.
Yeah. I totally agree, especially with shit like I've never seen before and I don't have any reference. Like I don't do it very much now. Like if I'm reading a Star Wars book because I, will know
You
what
know
all
what
the
everything looks
aliens
like.
look like and everything. But that was definitely something I did when I was reading. I found myself doing this a lot when I was trying to read the High Republic book
Hmm.
because they had a lot of ship classes, station classes, and aliens I'd never heard of before. And I was like, what the fuck does this person look like? And pull them up on my phone and all that kind of shit. So I definitely agree with you that knowing what shit looks like, especially when they're not described well or at
At
all,
all.
yeah, they were just like, oh, this is a locust. Do you not know what that looks like? Well, I'm not going to describe it being a little fucking jet cockpit on spindly legs
Chicken
or
leg
anything.
walker, yeah.
Yeah, chicken leg walker. But I appreciate that they added this little short story, even though I'm not lambasting it for being awful, but I mean, if I wasn't reading it with a purpose of, talking about it on the podcast, like I would have stopped at the first page. It definitely was not interesting.
No, they started off really weak with that whole bar situation. But like, I knew there was going to be a mech battle in it, or at least I was hoping. Right? It would have been weird if
Yeah,
they didn't have it. So that's what kept me through it.
it would be fuck. Can you imagine how weird it would be if it was just like it opens up and it's just like a political drama
Jesus.
and there's no mech battle in it?
Ends with like the dude putting on the helmet.
Yeah, I would be like, what the fuck are they doing? But yeah, I also kind of expected a little mech battle, and it turned out exactly the way I thought it would. It ends with nothing really happening.
Yeah, there was like no movement in. I mean, I don't even know there was a plot to that, right? Like, I think it was just introducing you to some things, giving you a little bit of the taste of the fight, letting you know there's some kind of intrigue in the background, but
I don't even know
nothing
the
else happens.
significance of the main character. Like, is Durant Carlyle, is he like an important character? I don't know. Like, maybe we just read like an intro side story comparable to like Luke Skywalker, and I'm just like, I don't know. Am I supposed to give a fuck about Carlisle? Like, who knows? I don't know.
I think it's always nice when it's someone that you shouldn't give a fuck about, but ends up doing something cool, right?
Yeah,
It's not like, oh, this guy is great. It's eventually this guy becomes great.
yeah, that would be nice if they were all like recurring characters. I mean, they definitely
Hmm.
spent some time, establishing like the lances. Like I know who each pilot is for each mech for both of the lances for Colby's Commandos. So
Hmm.
hopefully they're like recurring characters, and I didn't just
Remember that for nothing.
remember all these characters for nothing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Fair. Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what's in the next box.
me too.
Same.
Me too.
Fair enough. Any final statements before we wrap this up?
No, I think that was pretty good. I'm definitely
Same.
enjoying this Battletech excursion.
It's refreshing, if nothing else.
Yeah. Hopefully because now, I mean, we were talking about the rules and everything, but like once we got through the rules, I was definitely wanting more complexity. So I would have to like just talking about beginner rule sets, like rate the beginner rule set like really highly because it took all the fat off of what I understood to be an extremely complex game and just gave you the bare bones of it.
I would say that if Armada had something like this as their core thing, there would be more Armada players.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because, I
I
mean,
don't even know what you would take from Armada, though.
um,
I would say that Armada's main core set, the Empire and Rebel one, is the weakest part of Armada.
okay, that's fair.
Like it's, I can't even recommend someone pick up that core set. Like I would try to initially steer someone towards like the Rebel, or not the Rebel, the Republic or the Separatist one first, because it's just such a better experience. Because I mean, someone's trying to get in the game. They come up to you. They're like, "Oh, that game's cool. I want to get into it." Oh yeah, go spend $90,
On
buy this
Xbox.
core set. You'll play with. I mean, if you want to play Empire, you'll have one ship. Well, how is that good for a fleet? How many more ships do I need? I need
A
about 4 or 5
Yep.
extra ships before you can even play a full game. But I mean, with the Clone Wars starter sets, it's like buy this one and then choose one other ship.
And yeah, and you're there.
Maybe a fighter pack, but you don't really need one. It just takes so much longer for someone to build up a fleet.
Well, for me, it's just I feel like the Armada rules, even like the base rules, there's still a lot of fat. I think they could be trimmed off when you're introducing a new player to it. Whereas, the main thing here is like this was very streamlined. Like I read the rule book once or twice, like tops, right? And
Hmm.
then I played the game, and within 10 minutes of playing the game, like I have it, like I got it.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't need the Gators sheet after how many attacks? Like four, right? Like uh, that's not the case for Armada. Like even today, we're still picking up that rule book, and that's not just because of like new things that they've added. It's just because there's so many other aspects, and those are aspects that are introduced on your first game.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
So I think it's kind of a hard thing for a new player.
But also, like, I love the fucking tables. The tables are so good. You got a table for like every aspect of the rules, so you don't even need to like flip through the rule book. You just put all the tables in front of you, and you're like, oh yeah, what's the fucking attack modifiers? Oh, it's right there. You don't even have to go through the whole fucking rule book after you read it a couple
It's
times.
all on the back page. It's so good.
So I definitely liked that. And also, speaking of how much it takes to get a full like army or fleet or setup or lance or whatever, like if we could probably just download the full rule set, use the extra cardboard pieces, and there, boom, you're done. You got a
Hmm.
full set
Yeah.
just from the beginner's box. You don't actually need to go and buy all the plastic pieces. I think in the major rule set, it's like they're just representative game pieces. Like you can use a bottle cap, draw an arrow on it to denote like what the front face is, and then that's it.
Yeah, because like the actual piece doesn't matter.
That's not the case with Armada. There's so many different arcs and line of sight dots, and you need the cardboard piece for the kind of ship you're flying,
Hmm.
different base sizes. It's like so fucking complicated.
Mm. Yeah, I
But
don't
we're
know.
still just
Like,
playing with the beginner's rules. Like, watch, we'll play with the full rule set, and we're like, fuck, this is so terrifying.
I mean, I think like when we have that first game, we'll spend the first half of it like situating ourselves. But again, I just think with the 2d6 system, it's just so clean. Like,
Yeah, it feels
I
clean.
don't see it being any more complicated other than like us being slightly restricted in the things that we can do, because like heat and like things like that. So,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So, as always, thanks for listening to this episode of Brace for Impact podcast. You can check out our battle reports and other video content on our YouTube channel. And if you would like, you can support future content and get early access to videos and podcasts on our Patreon. We'll see you next time. Cha-chink.